execution ability to his advantage.
Pete immediately picks up that Skarner as soon as it becomes his choice. So he's starting to sit on that. It's something we saw Snoopy playing a lot when they first went out over to Korea, when they first went out over to Asia. One of these things that he started to pick up before we brought him back here in Europe at the moment. Snoopy then came back to Europe, tried him a couple of times. Didn't really work so much for him, but other players had been doing the same thing and made it work for them. Went back, you left him again. Then we saw Skarner really come back with a force and start to drop off again in the last couple of months. Snoopy obviously deciding in the last second that's not what he wants to go with. They're going to switch it around. And he's going to go back to one of his old school favorites. He's going to grab that Maokai. Froggen has picked up the Malphite, which is probably going to be for Wicked in the top lane. And this is looking like, again, CLG saying, all right, we'll go for a long, steady game. We'll farm up a lot. We'll get really strong late game. We'll win one big, huge team fight. You'll be dead for a minute, and we'll come and clean up your base.
Yeah, so true. And they've got the composition that can pull that off. Maokai, of course, is one of Snoopy's stronger junglers. He's used many, many times in the past. It has great gank potential. And I want to see whether or not Wolves are going to decide to do something similar. They, of course, had Maokai in the previous game, and he was shut down so incredibly well by CLG, stealing the buffs away, putting so much pressure on him, stealing his jungle away and his creeps. So I'm wondering whether or not the Wolves want to decide to do something similar. Whether they want to invade onto Snoopy, onto CLG, and try pick up some kills, try put some damage down into him. It's a risky move, and could this be Katarina? This can't be. Well, we'll see. We'll see. 8 seconds left on the clock. What you guys will be seeing in a second is currently Orianna and Katarina are the two champions that have been selected for the Wolves. They have, in fact, been locked in. So Katarina and Orianna, double AP. One of those is going top, one of those is going middle. Malphite and Wicked's going to be a little bit confused about this one.
It could very well be the Orianna in the top lane. Taking her away from CLG is a big deal right now because of that Malphite and Maokai combo, so that's huge. And of course, Wicked's going to have that armor-based stat. He's going to have that shield. He's going to want to avoid a lot of auto-attack damage in these early levels. So if you can start outputting magic damage to him, it's going to start to offset the way he sets up. And when you've got Svenskeren in the jungle on Lee Sin, who's going to need you to be very armor-heavy for that level 3-4 gank, it's going to really offset Wicked's rune setup. Going to make it tough for him as he tries to survive that top lane for the first 4 or 5 minutes. So we'll see if that's where it goes. Or, of course, it could be Katarina in the top lane. They could be using her mobility, her Shunpo, to try and dance around.
I love it.
Dance around.
I love it. This is what I wanted to see the whole time. The second I seen that Orianna being locked in, I immediately thought to myself, we've seen Froggen running Lux, and we've seen how good he is with Lux. Stealing farms away, stealing buff away. I think he stole 3 blue buffs in one map, if I recall correctly, with that final spark. So we know he can play the champion, he can land the skill shots, he can lock people up, and he shut down Orianna before. So we're going to see what Bjergsen can do. They were trading fairly evenly in the previous game. It was Lee Sin versus Diana, so it wasn't necessarily the same AP burst versus AP burst type of matchup. But he was doing well with Diana, was holding his own. He bought the right items. He didn't just go, I need AP because I'm AP. He purchased according to his matchup, according to how things were going. So he's got the intelligence to back it up as well. And I really like what I'm going to see. We've already pointed out about the Katarina Malphite in the top lane, and our bottom lane is also going to be somewhat more aggressive as well. Zyra Corki going to be looking to get in range, get those phosphorus bombs down, get that burst down, and of course on the flip side, the Little Lance, Essence Flick, Mystic Shot, all of those auto attacks, skill shots to try and pick up their enemies.
Yeah, so CLG saying this is one of the tougher games they had before. Copenhagen Wolves are here with a point to prove. They're the BYOC team. They were the underdogs. No one expected them to really get this far at all. They are 1 game down. They've got 2 more chances now to knock out CLG, to knock out the reigning Dreamhack champions, and to go and play Fnatic in the final. Go and give us your prediction, is what I want, guys. On Twitter, @Quickshot and @CRSPanky. Go and give us your predictions on that. We'll get some feedback and maybe even find some skin codes to give away.
I tell you what, I think Panky and I'll both be throwing out a skin code on our Twitter, so you'll see our nicknames. Go jump on there and give us a shout. What I want to do, though, is I see we have a very full audience here. I want to know how many of you guys are cheering for the Copenhagen Wolves. That's not bad, that's not bad. It's a little quieter than we heard at the beginning. Now I want to know how many of you guys are cheering for CLG? That is significantly stronger, I feel.
Yeah, it's certainly a clear winner. But as we are in the game, that's not quite such a clear decision. We're going to get this started off. And again, we've seen a lot of late invades coming out from CLG now. Now they've got the Maokai. not exactly a champion that lends himself to late invades. We've seen a couple of different strategies from CLG. They've started red buff on Maokai, which is not something you see too often. We've seen once or twice they've late invaded with everyone bar him, just taking their bottom lane, taking Froggen in and stealing away blue buffs. We'll see, however, whether that is still the option, whether they're still going to try that, or if they're just going to start this off very standard and play safe for the first few minutes.
I want to see exactly who's going to be going who. We know that Nigarbro is generally the top lane player. He was playing Olaf in the previous matchup, but I wonder who's going to be more confident and more comfortable coming up against the likes of Lux. And the champions are in. We are in game. This is game number 2 of the semi-finals. We'll see whether or not this late invade comes in from CLG. They are on the right-hand side of your screen wearing the red trunks this time around. Lux or Oriana, Lux or, let's try this again. Oriana or Katarina versus Lux. Both champions have got good capabilities to them, but I feel that Katarina may have a better chance because she can simply Shunpo away from a light binding. You know, if that laser comes out and Shunpo is available and it's on a fairly short cooldown, she can get out of the way of the skill shots, can get out of the way of that ultimate, get out of the way of the burst. But I don't know if he wants to face off against her.
She also has quite a bit more armor and magic resist, so it suggests a much more defensive build and setup on Godbro. So, pretty much sure he's going to be up in that top lane. And as I say, it's on Godbro as well, so he's more than likely going to be up in the top lane.
Yeah, that is true.
The first time I've seen Katarina up there, I am very intrigued to see how and if it works. There's a lot of opportunities for him to completely outplay Wicked here too, so we could see some very impressive stuff here.
And in the previous game as well, Olaf versus Rumble, he was actually in the advantageous position. He was putting Wicked on the back foot, forcing him to lose some CS, taking some control. Nigarbro is going to recall, and not a moment too soon, as the rest of CLG start to move up, start to invade. Once again, we're going to see this low-level invade. I wonder if the Wolves are going to anticipate it and swing around to the enemy blue, or if they're just going to ignore it. Snoopy's going to take this blue buff away, and exactly like we said, how Katarina can cause a lot of trouble for Malphite in the top lane, Malphite is going to go 2v1 in the bottom lane, and they're going to allow Katarina to go up top, and she doesn't know it yet, but she'll be facing off against Crepo and Yellow Pete.
Snoopy taking that blue smiteless as well, so he's going to have his smite left up to head towards this red buff in his own jungle. But to start with, Katarina is still waiting to find her lane opponents, and suddenly she finds 2 people because of course Wicked is down in the bottom lane. Lulu hasn't revealed herself yet, it's still waiting in this river bush. Godbro going to come a little way forward, and Creeper should reveal himself shortly, just to give Godbro that sense of security and allow him to come further out into the lane. Instead, having not been seen, Godbro is still very scared, and as a result, Snoopy has to go and do his red buff rather than that very early level 2 gank that he was originally hoping for.
And we do see Lux is moving, knows that the blue buff might be going away, unfortunately doesn't get in range to steal that away, and Svenskeren picks up his enemy blue, so not too bad at the end of the day. They end up trading blue buffs 1 for 1. Something that I noticed just as we was watching Snoopy up in that top lane while he was waiting to potentially gank. He was level 2, but he hadn't actually spent his skill point yet, so he was waiting to see whether or not he was going to put the point into that twisted advance, whether or not Nigarbro was actually going to overextend enough for him to justify that point. And in the end, he did not. And it's those little things, those little, pre-planned thoughts is the difference between the pro players in the bottom lane. Take a look at that. Grasping Noose goes down. CLG Wicked immediately forced to flash away. He's going to carry on chasing. Red buff is ticking. One more auto attack from Sven. He does pick it up. That's first blood. Minion creeps start turning around. And that is what we were talking about. Svenskeren is a lot more comfortable on Lee Sin than he was on Maokai. We've seen him playing that champion before. Nigarbro has got to sniff something is up. Snoopy is very, very close. Bottom lane tower has been taking a lot of damage. And yes, Nigarbro knows something's coming. Snoopy is going to use the twisted advance. Gets pulled a long way on the back of that Shunbo. Carries on chasing. Red buff is ticking. HP ticking as well. A little sapling, a little face on the ground. Chases him away, and he manages to get to safety. Bottom lane tower, however, will be down at 4 minutes and 15 seconds with a couple more auto attacks.
We're not tanking that bottom turret.
Oh, 3 HP! 3 HP on that tower.
Wow. Wicked is probably going to lose this as soon as the next minion wave goes up there. Of course, minions do just enough turret for that. CLG, though, will take down the top tower just before. There we go. Both top and bottom turret do fall down. So that's a very early aggression that we've seen from before. But it does still mean that the Wolves, with the first blood, with that first turret, with the early aggression received from Svenskeren, are up by about 700 gold. Svenskeren does now find Snoopy. They're both double buff. The snare goes in from Snoopy onto Svenskeren. Now Froggen's coming across. We do have that prismatic barrier going out. Svenskeren still chasing Snoopy. He hasn't got that red buff anymore, though, just the blue. Will back away once Snoopy gets through that bush and out of sight.
And what a difference in Svenskeren's playstyle. As soon as you see it on Lee Sin, it is a much more aggressive champion, of course. You know, Maokai, he's reliant on his lanes to, secure any kills. He's simply there as a utility bot and a damage soak. But now that he's on Lee, a champion which can make plays and can make things happen, all of a sudden, level 2, level 3 tower dive, and it results in first blood. He's going to need to keep doing that, though, for the next few minutes, because, of course, Jungle Lee is not going to get the same farm levels or items that a mid lane Lee will be getting, like we've seen from Froggen in the previous game, which means it's harder to get up to that I'm fed, I'm powerful stage, which he really needs to get to.
Yeah, but of course, as we said, strong early game. He can do those, can get to that point using ganks if he so wishes. We do have Wicked and Pete now banned in the bottom lane, because Godbro has swapped down to try and find his intended lane partner. But with Lulu making her way down here as well, it does look like CLG are opting to completely swap this back and give Godbro that 2v1 situation again. So we'll have to see how Wolves handle this. I mean, it makes sense to me. It's like, okay, you directly counter my top laner with Katarina to Malphite. We just won't give you that lane opponent. Malphite is a good 2v1er. He can pull that off. You can't. So we'll switch it out and keep switching it on you.
And take a look at this right now. Wolves are moving into this bottom lane. Sonic Wave does land. Isn't going to be following up with a resonating strike. A couple of blue pings onto both Yellow Pete and Crepo, so they know this is happening. CLG decide they want an early advantage, and they're going to decide to chase down this tower. It's taking a lot of damage. Sven and Nigobro are hanging around. They need to be very, very careful, because if CLG decide to jump on them, they may actually go down. Glitter Glance lands. Crepo takes 2 tower hits for his trouble. Now Sven puts some more damage down. Wicked and Yellow Pete have completely ignored them thus far. Carry on putting DPS. They've delayed the tower kill, but if they stick around for this next wave, it's going to be the second tower of the game going to the CLG team. And it is going to be going down.
I don't think they mind giving CLG the turret. They just want to make it take as long as possible. Because in the top lane, we do have the Tess and XL winner doing exactly the same thing. Back to CLG turret up there. We do now see Orianna coming to join them down in this bottom lane. Svenskeren and Godbro have taken quite a bit of damage, but CLG are the same. They're low on health and they're low on mana as well. It is now 2 turrets to 2. The gold advantage is still with Wolves. They still have this, and if this keeps going this way, this is a very aggressive early game. Their comp is much better suited for it than that of CLG's.
And something you've also got to consider, while the Malphite-Orianna combination was taken away, we'll take a look at this. Wicked may find himself in some trouble. This is now a 2 versus 3. Orianna is getting up to range. The Shockwave is available. That's what I wanted to say. The Shockwave combination in conjunction with Shunpo. Katarina is going to be diving forward. Svenskeren lands the resonating strike. It's going to be enough damage for Orianna to pick up the kill. Now we see once again, look at that very long twisted advance. Nigobro is trying to get to safety. Sinister Steel is popped. He's going to try put some distance between himself and the enemies. They end up trading 1 for 1. But that combination, if you think about it, Shunpo into Dissonance, Shockwave, as well as the Death Lotus and all the spinning and blades and death, it's a huge amount of AoE burst.
Yep, CLG going to be in midair while she's spinning. They're not going to be able to cancel her ultimate while she's doing that. Snoopy can just land, yes, and then cast an Arcane Smash, but he's got to land first, so there's a very strong combo of damage out in that. And as you saw there, if he tries to initiate onto Katarina, Shunpo to a ward, flash away, and suddenly there's miles between him and his team. And if he's caught out like that, either one, it just means that Katarina is plenty safe and they can't catch up, or two, in the worst case scenario later in the game, Snoopy's suddenly so far out of position, the Wolves can burst through him before the rest of CLG can group up to back him up.
And if you get a good ultimate like that, the Shunpo into Shockwave, into a Stranglethorns, one good Stranglethorns from Zyra, it's going to give them all the time that they need to secure a kill, secure 2 or 3 kills. And of course, if Katarina gets 1 kill in a fight, she gets all of her abilities again, and that's what a cat needs that early advantage. We've seen Froggen, he did throw out the final spark, was looking to steal the blue buff away from his opponents, but unfortunately it did not take place. They do not know how close they are to one another. Svenskeren and Crepo. You can see the ward is up, blue buff is not there. Sven was thinking about it, Crepo would have just seen him sneaking up, and you can see the ward is in the bush. Pink goes down, they immediately clean that one out. And now the Wolves, they turn their attention to this middle lane. They have 1,000 gold advantage. Compliments of that first blood kill and a number of assists. Command Protect is onto Nigobro. He also gets the Iron Will shield that comes from Svenskeren, or Safeguard rather. Now he's going to start falling back, and that's 2 shields as well that you cannot forget about. It's not the biggest of numbers, but it makes a difference. It blocks a couple hundred damage, and that can be the difference between life and death. And we've seen how often these champions get away with next to no life.
Yeah, exactly. And as you say, with both of them combined and with this game scaling through, shields are slowly going to get bigger and bigger, and they will start to make a huge impact, especially CLG don't take that into account. If they turn around and say, okay, we can burst this guy down. Oh god, he's got shields suddenly. We've used all our burst. He's not dead. He's Katarina and he's cleaning up the fight. It's something else they just have to think of, something else that they have to weigh in on, and it's not the easiest thing to judge all the time as well. We do now have all 5 members of Wolves here onto this Dragon. They're staying as a group. They really are playing this game as they need it to be. Froggen will try and steal that Dragon with a laser. Svenskeren, though, taken very, very low. Will stand on the far side of the wall. Brilliant play. I love how they managed that. Test Valkyrie over the wall, allowing him to safeguard to join him on the far side. Bjergsen, unfortunately, though, did have to blow his flash to join them. There's Lucent Singularity coming over the wall. There's the last binding, and it does snipe it! Froggen with a brilliant aim through that bush. Does manage to pick up one extra kill onto Lee Sin.
You gotta think to yourself, Sven, you know, you've seen the Lucent Singularity come down. You've gotta be putting yourself in a different position. We've seen this out of CLG earlier this morning, or yesterday in fact, where Froggen snuck behind the tier 2 tower, immediately seen somebody recalling and threw down the light binding to pick up another kill for himself. You see him on the back foot now. Shunpo into Sinister Steel. It's a level 6 Snoopy. He does have his Vengeful Maelstrom up. Everybody's got their ultimates now, with the exception of Krepo. Krepo is still level 4, and that's definitely something to take note of right now. 3 CS to his name. This lane swap has not benefited Krepo. He's getting close to level 5, but he does not have wild growth just yet. Wicked is considering chasing onto the test, decides to back off. And the rest of the team starts to close in, and you can see the vision from CLG in the river. They could see that coming, they knew it was happening, and they decided to back off.
CLG's combo is very reliant on Krepo hitting 6 too. They're going to have that Malpower.
Froggen gets caught up by a shockwave, Ignite is down, the shield comes down from Krepo, though there was nobody else to chase it up. Svenskeren is thinking about this, the Sonic Wave lands, follows it up with a Resonating Strike on the back of a flash from Wicked, and with Froggen and Wicked very, very low, they may be forced back out of this fight.
Yeah, as I say, Wicked, he's going to ultimate into that fight, that's going to knock everyone up. Froggen takes that blue buff, he lasered it and he stole it. Dogbro is going to get knocked up by Wicked under that turret as well as clearing the creep wave out. Creep wave is going to keep chasing him at level 5. This is not quite enough. The snare coming over the wall from Zyron, not enough to take any steal. The creep wave taking a bit more damage. You get a recall coming out of Wicked, he's now back on the fountain. It's going to be 4v5 on the defend.
XL Winter almost getting caught by that True Shot Barrage. He was snared up by the light binding. Lucent Singularity was down on the floor. That was dealing a lot of damage, which, by the way, that's what Froggen is maxing first. His Lucent Singularity on the floor, and I believe he's following it up with light binding. Yes, which he is doing. And he's just getting that, you know, the largest powerful slow and the largest powerful damage that he can get from the burst. Both teams displaying equal measure of skill and ability, catching one another, dealing a lot of damage, but both teams having flashes and escapes and jukes available, which they use to escape. If those cooldowns had been burnt, they would not be able to get away, and there would be kills in the hand of one of those teams. So the next few minutes are very, very crucial that no more mistakes get made.
Notice the gold gap too. That 1,000 gold lead that Wolves did have vanished. CLG have closed it back in again. And the last 3, 4, 5 minutes, Wolves have been trying to push down this mid turret. They can't do it. CLG, who are the team that are playing defensive, the team that are holding off and defending their base and looking after the turrets, is the team that had the 3 turret kills. Wolves cannot break through that front line. CLG are just so good at turtling under that turret that Wolves cannot get through there yet. They're still trying to push it, they're still trying to make that play. Once they do, it's going to open up the map again for them. It's going to give them so much more free roam. But if it takes them too long, CLG's comp is going to start outscaling them.
XL Winter does get caught by that light binding, manages to make it away. The thing about that farm though, and the gold that you were talking about, they're keeping up in CS. Yes, they are, you know, evening up in gold once again. XL Winter, take a look, deleted!
Beautiful
Goodbye.
combo.
That is a perfect combination of ultimates. Catching them with the light binding, very good true damage actually coming across, waiting for everybody to line up. But, you know, that's one of the beauties of having both Ezreal and Lux on the same team. Just such great, you know, ultimates, a lot of damage, and they're on very low cooldowns. Ego Bros looking at this one, he gets a Sinister Steel, come on, attack, Shockwave, pulls Froggen backwards, gets past the barrier, now they've jumped on, that's one. Katarina has turned her attention over to the rest of the team, now does decide to back up, and once again in a position where all of a sudden, you know, the Wolves, they lose one, but they make a good play and pick up another. Ego Bro's going to be very, very careful. If Malphite jumps on with an unstoppable force, take a look at this. Flash into Twisted Advance. Here comes Unstoppable, knocks up both Lee Sin and Corki. He tries to cleanse it away. Now they're trying to run. Sinister Steel lands on Katarina. She does not have her ultimate up, but Ignite and Shunpo is there. 17.5 to 18.1. Once again, small little mistake, not even a mistake. They're just trying to get away. That was a flash twisted advance from Snoopy. It picked up a kill, and it's definitely worth the expenditure.
Yeah, notice Wiki coming across. Creeper still isn't 6, so he doesn't have that dual combo. There he goes, he hits it there from the creeps in the mid lane. So now they've got that double knockout combo. Malphite's going to ult in, knock everyone up. They're going to land. Lulu's going to knock everyone straight back up again. And you can't do damage to Wiki because he's got a lot of health back from that wild growth. All that initiated by Snoopy diving in. They did get a good pick onto Froggen, but they just hung around a little bit too long afterwards. And it allowed Wicked to come down from that top lane. 4 kills to 3 though in favor of CLG. They now have that 1,000 gold lead. Zenskarin is starting to push up this mid lane on his own this time. He might actually finally be able to finish off this turret. We'll have to wait and see if CLG come across and defend it in time. Looks like they are. He's going to back away and play it safe instead. Let the creeps do the job. But Snoopy will be there with the help from Creep Rate to clear up this creep wave before the turret takes too much damage. Now, if you're Wolves, you've got to be thinking of some different way to do this now. You've got to look at this and say, okay, so just ramming our head against this brick wall that is the mid turret isn't working here. We're getting 1 or 2 picks here, but so are CLG, and they're going to start to pull ahead if this keeps going the way it is. How do we make this happen? Do you go behind the turret? Do you bully them off it? Do you split engage or do you split push it? If you put Lee Sin across to one side perhaps, or Orianna, or even Katarina off the side pushing one of the lanes? They do now finally manage to shut this turret off because it's so low health and CLG weren't here ready to group it up. But okay, that's one turret. That does close the gold gap down to within 1,000. Dragon's respawning soon and Wicked is up in the top lane. Where's the play next going to come from, Wolves? You've got that open jungle now. You've got the map control from having all those outer turrets going. There's a lot of wars down for CLG. You need to kind of get on oracles and clear that out.
Yeah, they're very split at the moment as well. Katarina and Zyra are coming up. King Godbro manages to sneak up onto the ramp just before it gets caught out by a glitter lance from Lulu. The Dragon's going to be the next engagement now. A good Shockwave and Stranglethorn's combination could be the signal for a great team fight win. Katarina needs 2 or 3 kills to be able to pick up the next item. Maybe something like an Abyssal Scepter, which would work really well against all the magic damage that's coming. Sonic Wave does manage to land onto Yellow Pete, but not even Svenskarin's brave enough. And once again, Exile winner. Not even needed for this final spark. Simply put, the Athene's Unholy Grail as well as the Blasting One is enough. Now Yellow Pete gets caught. Unstoppable Force. Seismic Shot is going to steal some of his movement speed, but nobody else was close enough. And the True Shot Barrage, it didn't even finish channeling before that plant had been weeded and had been sold to the nursery.
And there it is. We do see that Dragon responding. CLG going to take that. The test is low after being caught by Wicked. He cannot come to fight. And of course, XL winner is completely dead. And this is the way it's going to be. CLG are just so good at defending. Okay, you've got an early game comp. You're going to make these early plays. We're just going to sit back, we're going to defend, we're going to push you away, we're going to defend, we're going to push you away, we're going to pick off one of your targets, and we're going to take the objective.
Exile winner needs to avoid those light bindings. 2 times in a row now has been caught out and has been killed before a fight has even begun, before you can even get an ability off. And it's such an integral part of this team. It's such an integral, important member of this engagement composition. If you can buy Katarina the time to channel her ultimate, that's what's going to change things in their favor, and it's only Stranglethorns that's really going to buy them a lot of time in that regard.
So, let's see, 5 and 3 is just a slow kill game, as you say, just picking off that 1 kill onto the winner here and there, and then opening up the objectives. Wicked still is using that ultimate, hasn't had that perfect combo that we've seen in conjunction with Crypto just yet. We are seeing Bjergsen still farming up the jungle. He's got himself that blue buff. This one is about to run out though. We'll see what he can do without such a thing. Froggen, who's got his own one here, has had a little bit more or less time to tick it down.
Interesting thing to note. Every single member of CLG is still sitting on tier 1 boots, whereas we see 1, 2, 3 members of the Wolves sitting on tier 2 boots. So this is something to make note of, and take a look at the play there from Froggen. He manages to get his light binding to stall up the creeps and then just the Loosen Singularity to close everything out. If he has a little bit more ability power, it clears the entire wave, and once again, just there. Beautiful, beautiful farming play. Knowing the timing, knowing the ability, and that's the reason Froggen always has such incredibly high CS. His mechanical skills are possibly some of the best in the entire game.
Yeah. And with those tier 2 boots and with the movements we got from Orianna, it's surprising the Wolves haven't really made any more quick dashing plays from one lane to another, or from one objective to another, or just darting around one side of a wall and catching CLG out. They are very slow. They haven't even got particularly quick champions with the likes of Maokai and Lulu in there. So they haven't been quite out of position yet. And you've got to think Wolves, you've got to rethink this strategy at the moment. The way you're playing at the moment, CLG are just too practiced at defending and turtling up against it.
The flip side as well now, in terms of scaling, Lux is always going to deal, lots of damage on a short cooldown, but he's always going to be relatively squishy. As is Ezreal, he's always going to do lots of damage but on a relatively short cooldown. Snoopy, of course, is going to be able to be tanky. The longer the game goes, the longer or the harder it will be to kill him. He's always going to offer the same amount of utility. All right? It's always going to be equal and the same. Malphite as well, to a lesser degree, he'll eventually get more and more tanky and offer a little bit more damage. But in terms of scaling, the CLG team doesn't necessarily grow more vertically. They get tankier, they get beefier, they get more survival. On the flip side, Katarina and Orianna, they're going to deal more and more and more and more burst. So the question that comes to my mind is, if this game goes another 10 or 20 minutes, will the tank ability of Maokai and Malphite be enough to defend against the burst that Orianna and Katarina are going to be trying to put down?
We'll have to see how the itemizers have to go around it. We just see a very quick defensive build from Yellow Pete in the sense that he's rushed himself that Bloodthirster. So as long as he can survive that initial burst from these two champions, then he can just sit there, he can keep auto-attacking, he's going to get all his health back from the side. We'll see if that does work in his favor, or if he's going to get killed by the burst from this combat, as you mentioned before. We do now see Snoopy, Cooper and Froggen just hiding in mid lane again. Wicked, he's been up farming that top lane for quite a while now, relatively uncontested. But every time it gets up towards the wolf side of the base, Cat just goes up there, takes the other end of the farm and sends it back towards Wicked. So they're staying fairly even in the grand scheme of things. Wicked building a little bit more armor. There's some more magic penetration and an Abyssal Scepter on the way for Katarina. Still 0-0-2 though. It's a good thing for CLG. They need to avoid giving her the kills. We do see Creeper getting caught out in that mid lane. Has used his ultimate himself to keep himself alive. Does flash over into the Wraith camp. Saves his own life. Snoopy is going to try and come in to XL Winter, but a millisecond early flash does cancel the twisted advance. As
I think he caught a creep. I think he caught a creep because the cooldown was actually picked up. Or was this Arcane Smash actually? Yeah, managed to get away, but nevertheless, Crepo just getting over that wall with a flash. The timing could not have been better. Milliseconds difference because the Sonic Wave from Svenskeren was coming in. With that ultimate down, CLG immediately pounced on the opportunity, and that's just more textbook play that we see out of them. They only make plays and make engagements when they know it's in their favor. They know an ultimate is down, and they know that nobody can actually advance further.
Yeah, Kubrick is back to heal. He spent a long time before he did it. It is now time for Wolves to really make that play. But again, CLG have those light bindings. They have the Lucent Singularities. And with Snoopy Saplings and Yellowpete's Mystic Shots, they're just pushing Wolves away from this turret, even though it's 5v4. Now Kubrick's back. Suddenly that push is over.
Something else to consider as well. Take a look at that attack distance once again. XL Winner is just killed outright. Gets caught by the light binding and just, absolutely...
Even lined up for his passive. For
really, really nicely done there. But I was thinking about that right now. Even if Wolves decide to engage in a fight and they send Katarina in to land a Shunpo onto Crepo, if you combine that with the attack, command attack dissonance and shockwave, it's going to be enough damage to immediately kill Crepo. The burst from Orianna alone chunked him down to 25-35% of his HP. If you add a Shunpo and a Sinister Steel into that, all of a sudden you've got a Katarina that can Shunpo and get a kill, Sinister Steel everybody, the cooldown will get reset, do it a secondary time and get more of a Death Lotus out. It's a really good initiation. The problem is, XL Winner keeps dying before they can even get into a position to engage these fights. And as long as CLG keeps playing the defensive and keeps batting away these aggressive strikes and keeps pushing away these plays, they're just going to win the game because Wolves simply aren't creating the opportunity to land those abilities.
Well, that's the thing. Wolves aren't going to get into that position to initiate a fight. CLG are just so good at defending and backing away and defending and backing away that they will only ever take a fight on their terms unless Wolves rethink the way they're playing this. They cannot go in straight up like this. Wicked walks up to the dragon and tries to start a fight. The Stranglethorn does go out. Winner will fall down to Yellow Pete. Does get his passive out to a couple of people. The abilities going all over the place. Laser from Froggen will come down. CLG picking up the majority of the kills so far. Godbro is down, so there's no Katarina for the resets. Bjorkson will fall with Wicked in the backside, but not before he can pick up Snoopy and that Oracles. The Tess does manage the Valkyrie over the backside of the Dragon Pen, though, for the only escaping member of Wolves. Sorry, I lied. Svenskeren's out too. He's off into the CLG jungle. But he is out and he's recalling. But ultimately, it is a 1-for-3 exchange in favor of CLG. Wolves to get the Dragon. Ooh. Skimming past Svenskeren's tail as he flies back to the fountain. Nice try
who picked up the dragon. So it was Svenskeren. So at the very least I picked it, but they did give up 2 additional kills. So, you know, technically speaking, if you're just going to go on statistics and, you know, money alone, it is about even because there was a lot of support and assistance in there. The thing that's a little bit scary for me is just what Wolves can do to pick those fights. The Stranglethorns landed. It knocked up 3 members of CLG, but I don't know if you've seen how they split. The Stranglethorns went down, and immediately CLG went north, went east, went south, went west. They split as 4, so that the command shockwave is going to be way less effective. If it can only catch 2 people as opposed to 4, obviously that is so much better. And they just scattered absolutely perfectly. Wolves are going to have to do something really, really special to catch CLG out, because it's just like you said, time and time again, they simply don't make mistakes. Take a look at the damage onto the test. If he was within range of that live binding, that would have killed him as well.
Yeah, the death cap now up on Froggen. He still hasn't completed his tier 2 boots yet. Does catch the live binding this time. The singularity is going to come out, but a quick Valkyrie away from the test. Just make sure he's out of range from it.
Did burn his cleanse though. So cleanse down to get out of that snare and to get himself to safety. But nevertheless, he doesn't give any more gold to Froggen.
Froggen carrying 1,300 gold. He hasn't quite spent it on those tier 2 boots yet. He might not even do that yet. He might go to straight Void Staff the way he's playing at the moment. Doesn't really need the mobility. He's just staying at maximum range, firing out all his abilities and sniping people. But again, CLG, despite being the team that's on the defensive, is the squad to have picked up, almost picking up this bottom turret. And again, with another quick light binding, Lucent Singularity laser combo, Wolves have lost massive chunks of their health. And CLG can just slowly push in and take them down because of it. Wicked is also stealing the blue buff away while we speak.
When are the Wolves going to pick up a Will of the Ancients? I mean, every single champion on their team will benefit from additional ability power, will benefit from the spell vamp, and if you can give that huge amount of spell vamp onto the burst from, you know, Katarina Shimpo, from Katarina Sinister, as well as her ulti, and of course the shockwave, that can help them in these fights. Admittedly, it's an item you don't see all too often these days. You know, it's still very common, but not that much. It will benefit this roster.
Yeah.
Even Lee Sin is going to get a more powerful shield if you give him some ability power.
The only reason we don't see it so often though is because we've stopped seeing the double AP comp for quite a long time. I mean, TSM used to run it all the time with Vladimir and Kennen mid and top lane. But that stopped, and other teams stopped doing it, and we used to see Rumble, of course, a lot with Kennen and Vladimir in the mid lane. But again, that all stopped. So AP, Will of the Ancients just kind of faded out. This is a double AP comp. They should be picking something like that up. It also helps them sustain in that mid lane up against the CLG defense, because they will be getting health back from every time they use an ability to kill the creep wave. Yeah,
I definitely think that will be an item that will play into their favor. All of the stalling and all of the slow play, it's just allowed Wicked to extend his farm lead. The Wolves have actually said, oh, take a look at that. The laser comes down, the test is still alive. If Ignite was used, it would have picked up the kill, but luckily, he's just out of range. True Shot Barrage is coming down. Will it catch anybody? No, just skimming past the tail of the test.
Zigzagging across the lane. He knew it was coming somewhere, just waiting for that perfect spot.
It was good damage onto Froggen as well.
Yep.
Even through that prismatic barrier. Wicked is now sitting there. He does have blue buff. It would not be unusual to see them going for a flash unstoppable force if 3 or 4 members of the Wolves group up. Corki should be back in time to help defend this. Life Binding goes out, doesn't manage to catch anybody. Bouncing Blades tagging every single one of those creeps and a couple of champions on the CLG side. If any of those abilities get burst, look at that. Svenskeren does lose 50% of his HP from that combination.
Winner flashed away from that one.
And yeah,
as soon as he got out of that snare, he flashed away from that laser. He was not getting caught under their own turret in the tier 2 in mid. Would have given up way too much, probably even maybe an inhib. This time, however, Godra is going to get caught out as a mid Mopo. A brilliant Shimpo away from Wicked's ultimate means he's useless. He's going to get snared up under the turret. The Stranglethorns go out, don't hit anyone, but it does push CLG back off. However, there's a big ultimates that are on cooldown. CLG can now just stroll straight in and take the turret.
Negod Bro is being very, very brave. He's trying to recall. He does decide to Shimpo over the wall. Laser comes out, doesn't manage to catch anybody. That laser has already been used. Bjergsen now gets caught. Command Protector's down. Essence Flux through the wall, puts some damage onto him. At 9-4, that was a very, very good Shimpo. It literally saved Negod Bro's life. And CLG are going to be happy with the siege. They'll be happy with the tower. Now they're just going to start backing off. The problem is that gold is now ticking over. You know, 5,000 gold again at the 30-minute mark. This is what we've seen in the previous matchup. And fair enough, the Wolves were able to put a lot of pressure down. But, you know, this is a difficult comp to come back with. Svenskeren is going to get a lot. XL winner.
Down again.
No flash this time round. And again, You know, Froggen is just, he's got a thing for plants, he's got that sunlight, and he wants to
it's something to do with plants, photosynthesis in there. She's just attracted to the sunlight.
That's it, attracted to the sunlight, and that's also an Oracle's Elixir that's gone down. This is a champion that's 0-5-2. There are only 3 towers on the board as far as global gold is gone, but that Oracle's Elixir had not even been used yet. There wasn't a lot of wards that had been, you know, collected or removed from the map, and you can actually see that Zyra has picked up Mercury traits. You know, really struggling against all of this magic damage, and Froggen, every time he lands it, he picks up a kill.
Yeah, gets him out of that CC a bit sooner, gives him a chance to try and dodge away from the laser, and of course, if he doesn't dodge it, gives him a chance to reduce the damage that the laser and the combo is going to do to him. So we'll see whether that helps Winner out much at all. I think he just needs a little bit more health as well on top of everything.
For any budding filmmakers, if you're watching this game, you could make a Lux final spark combo just between Froggen and XL Winner alone. It's just textbook. It's been all over the map. It's been blind through walls. It's been placing a ward. Another dragon goes the way of CLG, and again, we just haven't seen this big engagement. Wolves have not been able to pull the, CLG where they need to create that big engagement, nor have they forced it either, and they simply cannot survive the damage. Even the True Shot Barrage right now, with that Bloodthirster and working towards a Trinity Force, it is hitting very hard. 5 members of Wolves rather, are grouped up in this middle lane, and you take out that ward there as well, because XL Winner has purchased yet another Oracle's Elixir, and barely dodging that light binding. See whether or not we're going to see this engagement. A ward goes down. Malphite is up in the top lane. Wicked is going to need to come to his team. Froggen is just hiding off on the side, and watch the light binding through the wall. That's going to catch Bjergsen and Nigard Bro. True Shot Barrage goes down, forcing a flash from Bjergsen, and this is immediately now on the back foot. Krepo is chasing onto XL Winner. He wants blood. He wants to challenge the enemy support. And just that ultimate combination, 50% of the cooldown is already available for Froggen. He's going to be able to have it in just a second. Nigard Bro is recalling, decides to cancel it instead, and they're going to be so careful. They're at this low HP. CLG want to siege the tower. The final spot goes down, and for the first time, I think, this weekend, Froggen actually doesn't catch any of those creeps. It may have been a prediction shot for champions. It wasn't actually aiming at the creeps, you know, assuming people were recalling. But nevertheless, it doesn't manage to connect with anything. And CLG, after shoving this wave down, need to wait for their creeps. I'm going to see a 5v5 engagement underneath this tower.
CLG now, 32 minutes. They're the ones pushing. They're making the plays. Their last few objectives, their last few pushes, it's all been instigated by Froggen just catching 1 or 2 people. Doesn't necessarily have to kill them, which we saw there. Just takes them very low. Froggen carrying that through. Wolves, they keep trying to come back, pushing onto CLG, but it's just, what are you going to do? We're too strong now. This is too late for your push. Your comp's not going to work. Look at the health that's sitting there on the Wolves squad, and you've already seen what damage Froggen does to them alone. If you add in the 4 other members of CLG in a full 5v5 fight, Wolves, they're not going to stand up against that. They do not have the strength to get through the tank that CLG have now built up. Look at the amount of health across all their champions. Even Krepo, Froggen, and Yellow Pete have got a good couple of thousand of them.
That's absolutely massive. There's the numbers on your bottom. Nigard Bro is going to get caught out. Command Protect comes up. But still, even through all of that, 50% of his HP has been dropped. Wait till his money gets spent, and the damage is going to go even higher. Once a Void Staff is collected by Froggen, as if the damage wasn't going to be enough, it's going to be an even more significant number. Yellow Pete is trying to get away for his life. He does manage to put enough distance between himself and the rest of the Wolves roster that he doesn't give away a kill. CLG immediately react, but Snoopy is a long way away. It's going to take some time, and the Wolves may be able to pick up this tower. This has been the first tower that they should be able to collect if they stuck onto it, but they decide not to because they don't know where everybody is. Sven Karen does get caught. Take a look at Wicked. Oh, there's the damage. We're going to see an unstoppable force onto Nigard Bro. Wicked is just setting up. He's waiting. Here comes this thing grasping roots. Now Wicked, all of a sudden, 1 versus 5. How many can he knock up with his unstoppable? This is the real question. The rest of CLG are coming in. That's 1 and 2 knocked up. Sinister Seal has been used for the movement speed buff. Katarina has been removed from the fight before it's even really begun. Froggen gets kicked back, but the damage isn't even enough to get through the prismatic barrier. Now the next target's Bjergsen. Going to flick over to Corki really quickly. Froggen gets 1 and 2. Now they're going to chase him down. Corki is being, Lee Sin rather has been surrounded. Glitter Lance is on. He continues running. Arcane shift forward, uses the Iron Will, comes over the wall. There comes the laser. Is enough to pick up the kill before the True Shot Barrage can. And I'm very glad I followed Lee Sin.
By Froggen. The fail flash from Svensko would have taken him into Dragon sooner. Instead, He had to keep running further around the Dragon Pit. Then he dropped that ward down, dashed in. Froggen predicted him going over that wall. He'd run the other way around, waiting for his team. He cut off the exit. He beautifully executed that laser for his triple kill. And immediately, as soon as that happened, CLG recall, base, heal, shop, we're going for a Baron. They're going to come straight back out and make their way down there.
And Voidstorf has been picked up. So the damage has already been just melting those HP bars and decimating them. And
There's
now with the
5 wards on him too, just so we can keep dropping them over the walls, catching people off guard.
Yep, exactly. Put the ward down. And you know what? I don't know if there's something with this patch or if somebody's been doing a lot of number crunching with the announcement of Season 3 and the changes, but another game we're seeing the Force of Nature. We've seen the Force of Nature so much this last week, and it didn't exist effectively for the last 6 months of competitive play.
I think we've seen it on Olaf a lot at the moment because the movement speed really helps out. When you pop that Ghost, when you pop that Ragnarok, sticking to a target is really useful. Then of course you've got the health regen, which is always really strong throughout the course of the game. Here, Wicked's doing it because what else is he going to build? He's got a Warmogs, he's got a Sunfire, he doesn't need an Abyssal. They're going to get one of those at some point on Maokai instead. He doesn't really need the extra magic resist. He's not taking any damage. He's just having to run about all over the map. So, okay, let's get a movement speed item. Let's get a tanky movement speed item. There's my magic resist as well.
Fair enough. And it also gives all that HP regen. It's just going to play into his favor. CLG Wicked is going to land that seismic shard, steal some of the movement. Shinfo's over to a creep. You got Bro now gets the command protect.
Look how fast he is.
So a little bit. So you can immediately see him carries on chasing. Malphite, one of the better champions for chasing. He steals your movement speed and adds it to his own. Light Binding comes through. I'm actually following the Light Bindings now. That's exactly what we need to do to keep track of these kills. A massive creep wave on both the top and the bottom of this game. We can see that Zyra's moving over there. Look at the huge number of creeps. This is when CLG decide they need to try Baron buff. The HP is on the bottom of your screen and the wolves are simply nowhere nearby. Svenskian is the only one that's there. Froggen catches some damage onto the test, but he's saving his final spark this time around. Whether or not he's actually going to use on any of the champions. A big engagement this has turned into. Baron down to 2,000 HP. Stranglethorns comes down. There goes the final spark. Orion has been removed from the game. No shockwave has been used yet. We're going to stick on the bottom. Immediately knocked up. Nikot Bro. Their ultimate is cancelled. He's forced to flash through the wall. Mystic Shot doesn't do it, but a double kill on the back of that Light Binding. We're going to stick with Froggen as he carries on chasing. Can he get in range of the test? No. He just throws the Lucent Singularity back to farm. In and amongst all of this, he still has the presence of mind to continue CSing. He tries to get some vision.
There's 3 seconds on his ultimate, 2 seconds, 1 second, final sparks back up. Froggen just waiting to catch the test, does pick him off, goes legendary for the triple kill. And there goes the Baron as well with Snoopy in the background.
And the crowd erupts in a cheer as another final spark picks up a kill. 10-1-5 on Froggen. It's now the Froggen Lux, or the Luxagon, whatever you want to call it. Amazing, amazing play. He does not miss those final sparks. The prediction is spot on. And Corki almost got away. He was millimeters from safety, millimeters from that tracer. But unfortunately, it still caught him. Gave them another kill. And all of a sudden, everybody on CLG has 1,500, 1,000 gold or more to spend. 13,000 gold lead. Wolves, it has been a good fight. But I'm afraid, a little too far behind.
Yeah, CLG. They're all going to base, they're all going to shop, they're all going to buy. They can use all this extra gold. They have 37 minutes. 4 kills to 17, of which Froggen has been involved in 15. What do you put from that? The last 2 fights he's picked up all 3 of the kills in both of them.
Do yourself a favor, hit F2 and look at the vision for CLG. Why is there even a fog of war right now? We flip over to the vision for the Wolves, and it's a completely different story. We're going to go back up to spectator vision where we can see absolutely everything. Another needlessly large rod in the hands of Froggen. He's going to carry on dealing even more damage. I anticipate that'll most likely become a Zonya's Hourglass for the, impossibility that someone's going to jump onto him. But, 2 members of CLG, that bottom lane, AD carry and support with 0 deaths to their name. To see how this plays out, I'm going to stick with the Wolves that managed to jump onto Lulu, blow her up just as I was talking about it. Stranglethorns goes down there. There comes the final spark. Now they've jumped into Bjergsen. Vengeful Maelstrom is down. All of a sudden, Carrier is trying to do as much damage as she can. She's not going to be able to solo, though. Lux picks up a kill through the wall, knocking him up. Ezreal picks up a double kill of his own. The Test is the next one that's in trouble. They're going to try chase him as best they can. If a seismic shard can land from Wicked, it's going to be enough movement speed to lock him down. At the same time, on the bottom lane, Froggen is just going to push it out. They'll face tank this one, pick it up, and pick up the inhibitor. Yeah, fair enough. Wolves picked up 1 kill, but it wasn't really worth it. They killed the support. And the rest of the team said, all right, thank you very much. We'll now focus your carries.
They used a lot on that too. The Stranglethorns going down just for Karippo, and then fighting in the jungle. They would have been great if you had the rest of CLG there. But Yellow Pete did pick up the double kill, as you say. He is 5-0-7. XL Winner drops to Froggen again with another massive burst of damage. CLG are just face tanking this turret, while Yellow Pete rips it apart, takes it off brick by brick. And as expected, good fight from Copenhagen Wolves, but CLG will take the Nexus, take the series 2-0, and advance to play Fnatic in our grand final.